WrestleMania 40 is right around the corner, and you all know what that means. As is tradition with every 10th WrestleMania, it's about time we start seeing some major change. And when I'm talking about change, I'm talking about titles. At this point, it feels like it's been forever since we've seen a title change. And we all know that's because a certain someone loves booking long title reigns. Thanks, Trips. But that doesn't mean these current champs are safe. Nah. In fact, they should really cherish every single second they get with those belts, because I don't think any of them are safe. WrestleMania 40 has been set up to be one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time, one of the most landscape shifting WrestleManias of all time. But enough goofing about, let's get right into it. First up, and this one's a big one, we're going to start with Gunther's Intercontinental Championship. Gunther feels almost immortal going up against his mid-card contemporaries as someone who's been clearly positioned as the next world title competitor. He feels a clear step above every single person he has chasing his title, which is probably why he's held it for over 600 days. No, I'm not going to look up the real number. I'm going to put the real number here. Whatever this number is way too long. That's plenty of time. He doesn't need it. He's moved on. He's come top 4 in 2 Rumbles in a row. He needs to have his time to go for that World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. Either way, he is done in this scene. And who is there to take over? The Intercontinental Championship is the Workhorse Championship. It is the Grinder Championship. So who should take over? Should it be someone like Sami Zayn? I've seen this argument back and forth. I don't see it, especially as someone who's already held the belt as many times as he has. My personal pick, and what I think most people's personal pick is at this point, is Chad Gable. The man is the definition of a workhorse. He has the comedy chops, he has the acting chops, he has the emotion, he has the connection with the fans, and he has an in-ring ability to back it up like no other. This is a man who just needs that opportunity to get in front of people with a bit of credibility. And trust me, within 6 months, you're going to have another man in that world title picture. Now, let's head over to the women's side of things. There's not much to say about the women's tag titles. The Kabuki Warriors are clearly a step above every other established tag team. There's barely any established tag teams. No, Natalya and Tegan Nox do not count. And there's a lot of talk about teams like Bianca and Jade getting together and possibly taking these belts. Me personally, I don't see that. I don't know what the connection between Bianca and Jade is, other than the obvious one that certain fans see. And no, that's not enough to put them in a tag team. This isn't 2004. Not to mention that Jade has been built as such a solid force as a solo competitor. She hasn't had the time to really show that. Obviously, she's had one match and it was the Royal Rumble. She needs to have her time as that dominant woman in the division. She needs to be the person who scares everyone when her music hits. And I think she can. I think she can more than be that. So yeah, Kabuki Warriors retained. Pretty easy. Speaking of damage control, Io Sky has had a bit of a rough run as champion. She hasn't gotten the chance to defend her title as much. She hasn't gotten the chance to show what she can do. Her whole thing has kind of just played background noise to the big damage control storyline. She hasn't had the chance to build her own rivalries as champion. She hasn't had any notable rivalries really, except for I got nothing. She even feels like a lackey walking around with the championship, and I just don't like it. I think there were a lot of failures here with booking Io. That said, I think she has a time to get another chance. I think she will get another chance, but I think it's time to put this reign to bed. And that's why Bayley is my simple pick, having won the Royal Rumble and challenged Io at WrestleMania to take that title from her. Back to the boys with Logan Paul's United States Championship. With the US title seeing a surge of popularity among Logan's reign, maybe not a surge of credibility, maybe not a surge of prestige, but definitely a surge of popularity. Come on guys, be honest. When was the last time you saw the United States Championship and kind of, cared? Come on, they put the thing on Ray and we didn't even care. It's hard to do that. And despite the undeniable stars chasing after this title, you have Kevin Owens, you have Randy Orton, you have possibly Rey Mysterio, although I think he's going to go into Mania with the Santos Escobar thing, and potentially some others. I think despite all that, Logan retained. I think he's brought too much to this belt and he hasn't brought everything he can to this belt. Hell, I'd like to see him go on to maybe a longer program with Randy, a longer program with the both of them, perhaps dropping the title at SummerSlam, but not at WrestleMania. Now, we talked about the women's tag titles. Now let's talk about the men's. Look, the Judgment Day run has just been, how you say, boring. They have no real feuds with anyone except for R-Truth. Hell, the entire time leading up to their match with the New Catch Republic, who they are now called, I don't know what that means. I don't think you know what that means. I don't think anyone knows what that means. They spent the entire time feuding with DIY and Awesome Truth. What is the point? Why even make the match in the first place if you're not going to give them any build? The whole time, New Catch Republic were basically feuding with JD and Dom. And look, I know a lot of you might not want to see it because you don't really want to see a belt on The Miz, but I want to see a belt on R-Truth. I also want R-Truth to get a win at WrestleMania because I didn't know this, but he's never won a match at WrestleMania. It probably doesn't help that he always ends up in like mixed matches or he walks in as the mid-card heel. So I get it, but hey, come on. He has been a backbone in this company for a long time. Give him a break. So yeah, my pick, Awesome Truth. Now let's talk about the World Heavyweight Championship. Now our buddy Seth Rollins has had his hands full going into this WrestleMania season. Not only with his World Heavyweight Championship, but also with The Rock, Roman Reigns, and the Bloodline. And I'm sorry, but you cannot have these kinds of distractions going into WrestleMania when you're up against a man like Drew McIntyre. So you'd be reasonable to assume that Seth isn't walking out of WrestleMania 40 as the champion, but it's not entirely true to say that Drew is either. Because moments after winning his brutal blow-off match with Seth, I think it's almost a guaranteed shoo-in that Damian Priest cashes in, screwing him out of the title and walking out of WrestleMania 40 as World Heavyweight Champion. And how poetic would it be that Drew McIntyre has lambasted Seth for not preparing for him, for not focusing on him, when in the end, it was Drew who didn't focus and didn't prepare for Damian Priest. Now, Rhea Ripley, walking into WrestleMania 40 as one of the most dominant women's champions of all time, goes up against her most formidable foe yet in the man, Becky Lynch. And in all honesty, this is my third and final pick for a title that isn't changing hands. I think Rhea's reign has been lacking, but I don't think Rhea's reign has lacked because of Rhea. The straight up truth of the matter is they were saving this match all year and they didn't leave much else there for Rhea. Like, if you look at that Raw women's division, there's no reason that Rhea should be defending solo against Zoe Stark. They're just not on the same caliber. There was no one there who ever felt like a threat. There was no Charlotte. There was no Bianca. There was no one. And after Becky, we have the potential for Rhea Jade, for Rhea Charlotte, for all these other names to come in. Hell, Rhea versus Bianca maybe. All of these matches are now set up after. And I think it would just be way too early to pull the trigger on her losing. Especially after that amazing performance from her at Elimination Chamber. Yeah, the match might not have been the best. Nia doesn't have the deepest bag, obviously. But you cannot deny that crowd was going wild for her. Hell, I see her holding the title well into next year. Well, probably WrestleMania 41 if I'm honest. And finally, the one we've all been waiting for, and probably the most obvious, the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns has now held the Universal Championship for well over 1,200 days. So yeah, pretty long time if you ask me. Cody Rhodes has waited over a year to take his second shot at Roman Reigns after being screwed out of the title at WrestleMania 39 by a rogue thumb. Hell, ever since then, he has been on an absolute warpath. He has unironically lost only 2 matches in that entire time, and one we can't even talk about anymore, so he's kind of technically only lost 1 match. And he is easily my pick to walk out of WrestleMania 40 as the champion. Truth be told, Roman's reign has run its course. It succeeded in building the next generation of the main event. It succeeded in elevating guys like Sammy, like Kevin, like Cody. And now that it's done its job, there's no need to just hang on to it. It's just fluff. It's just record stat padding at this point. It's not doing anything for the company, and it's not doing anything for the fans, and it's not doing anything for Roman. Because at this point, Roman Reigns is more interesting without a title than with one. And everyone on the roster benefits from this championship switching hands. And that's my list. Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know down below. Remember, like, sub, comment, blah, 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 blah. I don't really like doing this whole thing, but apparently you have to. No, that's all from me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.